This episode of Destructoid is brought to you by Audible. Coming up on Destructoid, Ellen Page hates The Last of Us, and Australia hates Saints Row 4, but DICE loves Star Wars Battlefront, so everything is going to be okay right now on Destructoid. Hello and welcome to Destructoid. I am Max Scoville, and filling in for Tara Long, who's in Singapore, is TV's Adam Sessler.
TV! No, I'm not TV. I'm free.
You're
from
free.
TV. I'm like a bird.
The internet's Adam Sessler.
Spreading his wings. Caw! Caw! Freedom!
Photoshop this man's head onto some birds, children.
Yeah.
But yeah, Tara Long and our producer Zach Miner are off in Singapore.
Yes.
And thankfully everything, except for a lot of things, have been going very smoothly while they're gone. What happened yesterday? Tell these fine folks.
Apparently we lost all of our power because a transformer, not a robot transformer, but just a thing that turns power into electricity, which powers things, went completely.
Yeah, it's hard to make things go on the internet when the lights don't work and you can't turn on the computer. So yeah, it's been weird, and if we seem very awkward and frazzled, it's because mom and dad aren't home, and he's scared, and I don't know how to use the stove, and we're hungry, and it's dark, and it's upsetting.
I think there are bears.
They might be bears, but on that note, let's get into the video game news, because that's what these fine folks come here to watch. One of the big announcements to come out of E3 was the news that we would be getting a new Star Wars Battlefront by way of DICE, ever since EA acquired the Star Wars license from Disney. Now, we didn't really get a whole lot to go on, aside from a very brief clip of a snowspeeder being stepped on and then some snow, because apparently the Battle of Hoth hasn't been in enough video games. We really don't know a whole lot about this project, other than it sounds like somewhere between a really obvious no-brainer and a dream come true. Well, according to a CVG interview with EA Games label executive VP Patrick Soderlund, it seems like this match made in heaven of DICE and Battlefront didn't immediately occur to anyone at EA. Apparently Soderlund mentioned offhand that EA was in talks with Disney about the Star Wars license to the head DICE guys, Carl Magnus Trotteson and Patrick Bach, and they just looked at him and said, "Why haven't you spoken to us? What are you doing? We want to make Battlefront," because they're the guys who make Battlefield, and Battlefront is just Star Wars Battlefield, obviously. Now, following that, apparently word spread around the DICE offices that the prospect of working on an actual Star Wars Battlefront game was in the cards, and the studio was apparently literally just begging for the job. So this isn't really actual news. This is like some hearsay gossip, but it's really, I think it's exciting to hear that such a talented studio is actually really passionate about a project that so many fans are looking forward to. So, I mean, that's a damn good omen.
I just think just hearing that there's a studio that has some degree of agency in choosing what they take on.
Yeah.
It's an inspirational tale.
Yeah.
That sometimes you can do what you want to do because you're good at it.
Yeah, well, I mean, I just think it's so funny that EA is like, oh, they're making the gun games. They wouldn't want to do the licensed game.
The fun games with the fantasy world we all grew up with.
They don't want the space lightsabers. Let them do their war game. And then it's like, they're like, what? Everyone likes Star Wars. We want to make that game. So the fact that they're stoked about it, I think, is pretty cool.
On the topic of perhaps a lack of free will, the last person alive, I think she may be, the last person to comment on the striking similarities between the character of Ellie and Naughty Dog's exquisite The Last of Us and actress Ellen Page is the owner of said visage, Ellen Page. Commenting on a Reddit AMA, the star of Juno stated, quote, "I guess I should be flattered that they ripped off my likeness, but I am actually acting in a video game called Beyond Two Souls, so it was not appreciated." Now,
damn!
Yeah, that's like,
yeah,
starting to raise the temperature by like a degree.
I love how like front page news this last few weeks has been like Reddit AMAs.
Yeah.
Like somebody, like, some celebrity said something, like, you see what Ethan Hawke said? Let's read about it on Huffington Post, because the internet is slow in the summer, guys.
Now, since this game was revealed a couple years ago at the Spike VGAs, there's also on Game Informer's cover, there's been a point of curiosity that one Sony game character seemed to be so highly reminiscent of an actress playing a character in another Sony game. That is head-scratching, befuddling, puzzling, a little like, Anyway, after I played the game and you get Ashley Johnson's wonderful, it's a performance capture portrayal of Ellie, I'd say that the character is very much its own person now, and that any sense that is being thrown out of it by looking a little bit like Ellen Page, that's all in the past. Now, with that in mind, though, I would still like to point out I'm waiting on my royalty check from Rockstar for using my misanthropic image.
I feel like that, that's kind of a rip-off of both of our likenesses. Like, we are...
You have the shirt.
Yeah.
I had the facial hair and contempt.
Yeah, it's Max Payne 3 is like just, it's us as a game. But yeah, actually, if you want to see Ashley Johnson doing something that isn't harrowing and terrifying, well, maybe a little bit, go watch her in What Women Want. the Mel Gibson movie. She
Yes.
played Mel Gibson's daughter in that, which is a little bit weird.
Or just go check out Growing Pains.
Yeah, there's that too.
Actually, don't.
So yeah, back to the misanthropic imagery. Speaking of misanthropic imagery, here's a piece of absolutely stupid news. It's been announced that the first game to be denied an R18+ classification by the Australian Ratings Classification Board is none other than Saints Row 4. Now, if you're unfamiliar, Australia has a notoriously strict rating system for media, specifically for video games. The R18+ rating, which is basically like an M rating, only showed up earlier this year, and before its existence, numerous games were just straight up banned from going to Australia, or else they had to be censored before they could come to the fine Kangaroo Island. The 18+ rating loosens things up a little bit. They get a little bit more leeway with what can get through the censors, but apparently not enough leeway to make way for Saints Row's big floppy sequel. Did I say Saints Row? Whatever. The reason for this allegedly is that Saints Row 4 has interactive visual depictions of implied sexual violence, which are not justified by context. In addition, the game includes elements of illicit or prescribed drug use related to incentives or rewards. Now, obviously, we don't know what is in Saints Row 4. I'm sure a lot of very crazy, dirty, nasty things.
I would assume so. I would hope so.
Yeah, exactly. But we're referring to a game that is a sequel to a game that had you murdering people with a giant dildo for no reason. I was under the impression that the entire premise of Saints Row 4 is that the in-game actions aren't justified by context. The whole game is devoid of... You're the president, and you're fighting aliens in virtual reality, and you have superpowers. And they're like, you can do drugs. I mean, this is on top of the fact, of course, that the video games cost like $100 each in Australia, and a beer is like $10 to $15, and you can't go outside because there's literally a hole in the sky, and you'll get cancer if you stand in the sun for too long. And on top of that, there are just poisonous snakes and big spiders everywhere, and they will chase you. Some of them, I read it in a zoo book, and there are wildfires, and if you go in the ocean, you'll probably get eaten by sharks or stung by jellyfish or caught in a coral reef. And these people, these monsters of the classification board, want to stop a fun video game that you can play inside your domicile from coming out because you can pretend to do drugs in it. Australia, man, it is a scary place.
It's the topsy-turvy place.
It is Dark Souls the country. It is life hardcore mode. Good lord. But the good news is, Australia, I love you, I kid. Is the fine folks at Volition are working on a modified version of Saints Row 4 that doesn't feature the same offensive sequences, so you get the safe for work version, I guess, that won't upset the critics. So
here's the part that's fun. I believe Saints Row the Third got a 15+ rating there. So for all of us that aren't in Australia, I cannot wait to see what's in Saints Row 4.
What do they have in this game?
I know. I'm a little bit excited. All right, Goichi Suda, better known as Suda51. He is the creator of cult titles like No More Heroes and Killer 7. He's recognizing that his upcoming release, Killer is Dead, with its gigolo missions, well, when you start to sort of say that in this day and age, that he might be wading into the current debates all about the representation of women in video games. And, well, he decided to make a few comments on it. So, speaking to Game Industry International, he says, quote, "Sexuality is a touchy subject. We don't want to make people offended, but we're trying to create something that makes people laugh a bit because we're dealing with that topic." Now, I have always been of two minds about Suda's work. I actually really like the guy, and I've had a lot of fun, especially with No More Heroes. And he always seems to have these representations of very socially ostracized male characters. Travis Touchdown does not fit into society. But it always seems to have, at least in some of the games, a lot of social satire. Although, when you look at, say, Lollipop Chainsaw, or if you look at No More Heroes 2, sometimes that satire can just be an excuse to indulge things that start to be a little bit unpleasantly chauvinistic. So, with that in mind, he says, quote, "Any kind of artistic value, anything of artistic value, anything you create, there's always some kind of criticism behind it, which means we're making an impression and an impact." I think there is some validity there. I think his work will always be open to debate, open to interpretation. What I will give him, it's consistent. What you get at the beginning of the game, they don't say, "Hey, let's pause and be really lurid and go back to the other stuff." It tends to be consistent, like Takashi Miike, which is also a point of debate. All right, what type of criticism and attention Killer is Dead engenders? Haha, you know what I say?
Damn it.
Yes, that's going to become clear on its release, August 27th.
Yeah, I mean, people always compare Suda51 to Tarantino in the sense that he's kind of got his, he's got kind of one foot in exploitation stuff, another foot in kind of just grander pop culture, and it's, I don't know, I feel like there's, there's an X-ray camera mode in Gigolo mode where you can see through a lady's clothing, and I'm just like, is this really satire, or is this sort of...
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. See what I mean? Yeah.
Anyway, on that a weird note to make a segue from, let's take a quick word from our sponsor, Audible.com. Guys, reading books will make your brain smart, so you should do it. I know. Using your eyeballs to read books is boring, but what if the books read themselves to you in your ears? Well, guess what? Audible.com is the #1 source of audiobooks and spoken word entertainment. They've got over 100,000 titles to choose from, all of which can be downloaded from the internet onto your MP3 player, smartphone, or portable digital noisemaker doodad of your choice, and you can listen to books wherever you go. Hey, are you excited for a new Star Wars game, or hey, a new Star Wars movie? Well, hey, go check out the audiobook of Heir to the Empire by Timothy Zahn. It was one of the first big expanded universe novels, and it picks up just a little while after Return of the Jedi, and it's, like I said, one of the first big ones, so you don't have to have read more than the movies to make sense of it. It's just kind of a sequel to Return of the Jedi. Is J.J. Abrams going to make a movie about it for Episode 7? Probably not, but it's a really fun story anyway. It's got Lando Calrissian in it. So if you head to audible.com/Destructoid and sign up today, you can get a free audiobook of your choosing. It might have Lando Calrissian in it, and as well as a free trial membership, and every sign up supports the show. You get a free Magic Talking book. Once again, that is audible.com/Destructoid. Magic Talking books, guys. Anyway, we're back. We didn't go anywhere. We were right here. Did you go anywhere?
Actually, I did. I traveled to magical places.
You are something of an astral voyager.
Yeah.
But let's talk about a couple cross promotions before we depart into that good night. You were visiting our good friend Jim Sterling, the Destructoid Reviews editor.
We both went to one place that we were at the same time. It was in Dallas, Screw Attack Convention. We had a fun panel where, we're both people of strong opinions, and we didn't have to be so didactic as to tell the audience what we were thinking. We let them, we told the audience what they wanted to hear from us. So we had people write down a topic on a piece of paper, and we randomly drew it from a hat, and it was very extemporaneous.
Huh, that's cool. What's an example of one of the topics you talked about?
One of them was about hugging. One of them was about this thing. The kids are talking about this all the time. DRM.
Oh.
Derm.
That's that new music that they go to the Electric Daisy Carnival.
To know what we thought about the
DRM.
derm.
Yeah.
And so yes, we were quite evocative on the subject of derm.
That sounds interesting. And you guys can actually go see that. There's a big old video of that over on Destructoid.com. I love that it's Adam Sessler and Jim Sterling together in one place. So fuel for your fan fiction fires, fair friends. And then speaking of fan fiction and really weird stuff involving Podtoid cast members, the second season of Jonathan Holmes' incredibly strange teenage Pokemon cartoon just started up on Machinima, featuring a suicidal Pikachu played by yours truly, as well as an absolutely idiotic Ash Ketchum played by our old pal Anthony Carboni. So go watch that. We'll put a little thing in the video so you can click on it and go watch a cartoon about talking animals. But obviously for all your video game news and for all the things that we mentioned today, go to Destructoid.com and read things with your eyeballs. And if you want to see what Adam and I have been up to, where do they find our things?
They can find them at the youtube.com/the Rev3Games.
That's youtube.com/Rev3Games. Old people add the in front of things.
Tell them about the articles.
Tell them about the Twitter.
Okay, so I know you guys like to follow us with the tweets, and we do them on the internets. So that's that site, twitter.com. You can follow me and hear what I'm grumbling about at Adam Sessler. This little whippersnapper here is at Max Scoville. And of course, the person who should be standing here because you would find her far more entertaining than I is at Tara Longest.
Yeah, you can go follow us. Like I said, Tara and Zach are in Singapore. They will not be back this Friday. We will not be doing a live show, but Adam and I will be here doing this thing again. We will not be live because that would be very bad.
Because it brings problems.
We would start fires. But anyway.
Yeah, tears. Good night. Good luck.